All right, it is game time. At the start of each champion's turn, they get a bunch of resources. That seems like a terrible idea for the types of decks I like to play, although maybe it's good for ramp. Would that backfire? 3/1 Elf Ranger. I'm just not seeing it. The Crypt Shrieker is pretty good. Skewer is pretty good. None of the black is first pickable. None of the green's first pickable. So I'm really deciding between the Crypt Shrieker and the Skewer, I think. I mean, there's a 2/4 first strike or Swiss strike or whatever for 3. It's pretty strong. Skewer's pretty strong. I guess we'll go with Skewer. It leaves more options open for me in terms of the deck building. What do I want to do here? The Harbinger of Hoster is pretty good. It would have been fun if I'd taken the elf last pick, and then I could have gone like red-blue ramp. That would have been slightly unheard of. Maybe an interesting like 3-color red, blue, green ramp with the hero and some big bomby stuff. As it is, though, I'm not really loving any of these picks. Probably the Spirit Eagle is the best. Although I don't like having 2 white and 2 red, but you can also do red, green. The Stargazer's really good. There was no good green in my previous pack, so I could try ramp. I don't mind that. I'll do this. The white's not that strong. I'm not going to regret not taking anything else, so I'm going to take the green here, and if I have to throw it away, then I'm totally fine with that. This is a really good pack. I like the Soloist a lot. Although he's stronger in like red whatever aggro than he is in ramp, because I mean he's best in the red-white deck because then you can be giving him first strike and the buff, and he's a little bit safer. If I'm playing ramp, I mean if I take one of these greens, I definitely think that's the strongest, the Root Enchanter. I like it a lot. But the problem with it is I don't necessarily love the green-red ramp deck. If I do this, I'm kind of committing to it, but it doesn't look like anyone else is picking the green. Although that being said, I'm only on pick 3, so that can always be misleading. Whereas this leaves my white open as a really solid pick. I'll go with the aggro. So here again, I've got a really strong green card, which I'm probably going to have to pick. I passed the 3/5 green, but not much else good green. Nobody really rates the Duelist, even though I do. But on the other hand, those first 3 red picks, if I took the Duelist with it, that's the beginning of like my favorite red deck. But for the sake of doing something different, I'll probably take Smash to the Ground here. I also don't really want to pass Smash to the Ground. When a Smash to the Ground is in play, you kind of need to really play around it. So whereas normally, like if I'm playing a red aggro deck, I just want to attack every turn and ignore them. If I know there's some Smash to the Grounds in the pool, you can't, because you can't let even like 1 blocker through against a ramp deck. So here it looks like I'm going ramp, so my choice is between Merry Minstrels. If you've got elves, cool stuff happens. He's an elf. That's a Coyote. Or it's the guy who creates battling. Wild Charter Battle, Wild Charter Battle. I've got a thesis here that actually ramp should be less rampy than it wants to be. So my thesis is that people see the synergy and they overvalue it. And my belief, which I'm gonna, I guess, test this game, is that actually you should probably play like a regular aggro deck. So I'm going to take like the Basher, I'm going to try to take my early drops, and I'm going to try to do like a red-green aggro deck as opposed to a red-green ramp deck. I'll probably still take the red-green hero for the shard boost, because that's going to allow me to safely play some like 4 and 5 drops where I normally wouldn't. We'll see how that goes. The relic, if it's socketed with a minor gem, it gets +1/+1. So I'm probably going to stick the green gem in that so that he's a 3/3 on the third turn. I'm tempted to play the Veteran Raider or the Snarling Ambusher, especially because the Veteran Raider works pretty well with the Basher. Um, but I don't love the 2 shard, and the extra point of toughness is pretty cool. Here it's either the Basher or the Skirmisher. I've already got 2 1-drops. I like the Skirmisher alright, but the Basher's really solid, so I'm gonna go with him. I might actually, seeing the cards I'm getting, I might go with the red champion, the Orc, who you can spend. He's got 2 red threshold, and you can spend 2 to give 1 extra attack. Because I'm seeing all these 3 toughness guys I'm going to have. Him, the Bashers, that guy. And I'm thinking it might be cool to start giving them the extra point of attack. Predatory Prey is some really cool removal, or the Lunge. So that's kind of my choice here. The Lunge is more aggro, but I'm interested to play the slightly late game. This is kind of coming down, to be honest. This is like a choice of my hero. If I'm playing the red hero, I'm taking the Lunge. If I'm playing the green-red hero, I'm taking the Predatory Prey. Actually, I'm going to try the Lunge. I really want to try committing into the red-green aggro and see how that goes. I actually quite like Flaring Passions. I don't know if I got video of it, but I won a deck against, I think this is really strong against Ramp, because you can take their big threat, and it's like, it doesn't help if you're playing defensively, but when you're playing offensively, it's really cool. So, do I want to be able to revert, or do I want that? I'm going to take the Flaming Passions. I'm not really planning on playing a slow game with the, where I need to be reverting stuff, so maybe he's useful in the aggro. Ambush is fine. I worry about my shard base a little bit, but I haven't taken any 2 red shards, except for the Flaring Passions, which is sort of like a late game win. So that's all fine. Another Dryad, a First Blood. I'll take the First Blood because he plays really nicely with the 2 Bashers. This is kind of interesting. This is kind of like the white-red deck I would build, but obviously worse because I don't have the white-red hero. But I don't know. I'm interested to see how it'll play out. Let's get rid of the flight. I think the Stormjammer's okay. Why did I even go into this color? Why did I go into green? Interesting. I'll get rid of the big blocker. Rotting Knight, last pick. Interesting. The Rotting Knight's totally good. It must be no one's playing spiders because he's a really, really good blood card. Anyway, as for my deck, there's 0 red and 0 green, well, 1 green, but not very good green, in this deck. But I'm happy, it's not like I have to pass any bomby cards. All of these are just like mediocre. Etherealize is really good, Sudden Awakening's good. I'm probably going to play the Red Fur Ranger. Because I only have the 2 2-drops right now, so having the extra one of those is cool. Something else that's nice, if I do decide to play the red-green hero, but on turn 3 you can potentially use her hero ability and drop 2 2-drops, so I wouldn't be opposed to having an abundance of 2-drops. I'd like to see some more 1-drops though. I also wouldn't mind having something big to ramp into, because it's possible I'll end up with 1 or 2 more resource fixers, and I would like Like when I play red-white, I'm pretty comfortable just doing like pure aggression. But here I'm going to need a little bit more follow-through. Gain a threshold of your choice. That's pretty useless for me. Here, Staggering Blast I like, and I don't mind main decking it. With the two Bashers, what I'm probably going to do is take the First Blood, although I was just saying I want more 1-drops, and the Skirmisher is a totally reasonable 1-drop. The other thing I was saying is, like, I might take the First Blood and basically really commit to, like, Bashers and First Bloods as my game plan. But I want the 1-drop, and he's a totally reasonable 1-drop. I love having the threat of him. When you attack on turn 3, if you attack with him alongside a Basher on turn 3, both of those are really credible threats. So it's like hard for them to make a blocking decision. I'm not crazy about this deck so far, but I don't really know what green's adding. Oh, there we go. When you play a card costs 5 or greater, draw a card. That is kind of worthless. The only interesting thing about this card is that it, like, other people overvalue it because they'll think I'm playing green-red ramp, so it'll probably draw the removal hate. Given all that, it is a 2/2 body for 2. So I'm probably going to play that. I like the Cackler. He would normally be my, if I was playing red-white, he'd be my top pick because you can give him Swift Strike, but in this deck it doesn't really make sense. My other option is to go after the Fury Seeker. It's possible he'll loop around, whereas this one definitely won't loop around. And if I took that, well, you could make a case for him, to be honest. I'm going to take the Fixing here. It's possible no one will take the Fury Seeker. I've gotten him like last pick before because it's like he only really works in a ramp deck. So we'll hope. Here I'm choosing between the Skirmisher and the First Blood. Now that I have the 3 1-drops, I'd be happy to lose the Snarling Ambusher as well. So at this point I'm going to take the First Blood, and I'm going to, we're on pick 19. I feel okay about getting more 1-drops. Sometimes people ignore the Skirmisher as well, which, because I'm hoping that I'll see another Basher, and that makes stuff discard. It's always like interesting when you see a rare this late in the draft, but Skirmisher is fine. I'm probably gonna play that as a 1-drop. Again, red-white. I'm realizing now that I'm playing red with a different color, I'm realizing how many cards I really, really rate in red-white just don't hold water when you're playing red with a different card. Because like Swordplay is amazing, red-white. It's actually really good red-blue as well. Red-white, you give him First Strike. Red-blue, you give him Evasion. Red-green, that's an absolutely worthless card that I would never, ever, ever main deck. Scrapyard Dynamo or Sylvan Duet. Probably the Dynamo. Ramp players will play the Duet, but I'm giving this aggro thing a go. This is an interesting pack. I'm probably playing the Duelist, and this would make Swordplay more useful. This card gets Crush. A normal ramp player likes the Red Fur Ranger because you're drawing into these really big cards and you want to give them Crush and blah blah blah. I want to be more aggressive, so I've decided what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take the First Striker, or the Swift Striker here, and I'm going to play the Red Orc Champion to give the +1 attack. And I think alongside the Bashers, the First Bloods, the Embershard Duelist, I'm hoping I can just be, just on it. Ugh. Although saying that, I'm a little bit annoyed by this pack because the Centaur Healer works much better with the Ramp Hero. A volley of arrows, that could potentially work. Or I could take the more defensive Vine Lash. Like, volley of arrows could play the role that normally I get through Boomsmith, where it's just sort of like, it's a bit of key removal. I don't trust it. I wouldn't main deck the Vine Lash though. Maybe I should take it the healer. I'm not sure. That was not a pack I feel great about. This one is obviously the Death Mask Assailant. I'm interested that the Incubation Webs is passing. I'm not totally sure what other players are doing here, because we've seen some pretty good cards. Like, obviously no one's playing blue, because Arcane Focus and the Webs are both like very, very strong cards. And also the other Webs, the one that taps for or exhausts for 2 turns. It's totes reasonable. The Autumn Family is hilarious. 5 troops with different costs. They all get huge when you win the game. That would have been fun. If I'd seen that, like, first pick, first pack, I'd probably take that and try to do, like, a hilarious novelty deck, but as it is, it don't really make sense. Here, I'll just take the big blocker out of the field. Another First Blood, which I kind of like. That guy's useless. The Unity Generator. Even in Constructed, it's like you play him as your 4-drop, and then you still need to use resources the following time. It's really hard to imagine a situation where he's winning the game for you. The Scrap-Tooth Cackler. I like the Cackler, but just not seeing it. Stinkhorn Soup is going to work really well with all these First Bloods, because I can give one of these 1/1s lethal. So that synergizes pretty well. It annoyingly doesn't work at all with my Wolverine Bashers. Here, what do I want to do? Big blocker. No one ever plays that guy, so I'm not too worried. Sometimes people play the Filk Ape, so I'm just going to remove him from the pool. Here's Swordplay. I'm going to grab that. I'm not going to main deck it unless I get at least one more Emberleaf Duelist. I don't think it fits terribly well. Epiphany or like a 4/5 dude. We'll get rid of the 4/5 dude. I got 22 cards. I got some weak stuff in here, so Giant Spider Spawn. There's a black-white deck, probably, where you could give him Swift Strike, which I think would be quite interesting. Here, the Vampire Princess is by far the strongest card. I can't remember if she's valuable or not. Maybe it would be worth rare drafting her, but I mean, this is just too good for me to turn down, so I'm gonna take that. Especially, I think I've got a few other elves. Do I have other elves? No, Necrotic. That's an elf, and that's a Swift Strike elf, so that's pretty nice. It's a shame I don't have more elves, but what can you do? The other options in this pack, I mean, the black's obviously amazing. That guy's really, really good in white. I rate him a lot. He's strongest in black-white. It's a shame you can't count on those. All the deep gazes, but really good with shift. It'd be interesting. If I'm a black-white player, it's really hard to decide whether you're going to take the Vampire Princess or the Deep Gaze Disciple. Probably the Princess. For me, though, red, green, nothing else is good. First Blood's fine. I've got enough. Fiery Indignation. I'm a little bit worried I don't have very much removal. All of my removal is like a combat trick, which isn't quite what you want. Red-green, though, this is a nice little gift. Speed, Crush, Steadfast. That's really cool. More great black. I mean, gosh, just so much good black. But, I'll take my Beefy threat. So here I'm probably no longer main decking Flaring Passions. Volley of Arrows is pretty good alongside all these First Blood guys. Whenever you play a card that costs 5 or greater, draw a card, so that works well with them. None of these are playable. I'm certainly not going to play 2 Volley of Arrows. Am I? There's the other option here, which I might actually do, so I'm going to draft in that direction just in case, is I might switch back to the red-green champion. I do have the 2 first strikers in the Basher, but what I'm probably going to do is, ooh, that's fun. Yeah, I'm going to go ramp after all. So I'm going to play the red-green champion. And I'm going to use the First Bloods to establish lots of creatures, and then Volley of Arrows is going to play as removal with my ramp. So I need to start removing cards now. So probably the Snarling Ambusher I don't need to play. It's 3-2. Probably I'm going to be playing something else on my 3-drop turn. Then on my 2-drops, I'd still like to be quite aggressive because I'd like to make them nervous. So I don't want to play one of these ramp decks where you do nothing for your first 3 turns. I'm going to try to 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, but then still be able to ramp into a serious turn 4 threat, ideally with one of these 5-drops. But I mean, if I have to, I can Night Sky Stargazer, that's fine. What does this give me? This gives me several credible options. Another First Blood is interesting, but it might be overkill. Probably here I'm going to take the Pyro Knight, because especially if I've got lots of First Blood tokens, turning all of those into 2 toughness attackers is fun. And then also with my 2 first strikers there, I think that's a really interesting finisher. Although now I need to start removing cards, so what am I going to remove there? Probably remove... I don't like having only 3 1-drops, but I kind of need the Stinkhorn Soup as a removal because I have precious little other removal. I'm probably looking at removing 2-drops. The Boomsmith is pretty important as removal, so I'll get rid of the red for a Ranger, take the Boomsmith. Here, the Boomsmith's actually a really great pull. That might incentivize me to remove a Volley of Arrows. I can't remove any 1-drops because I've only got 4 of them. All of these are unplayable in my deck, so I'm just going to hate draft. Draw a card, Shift Flight, Sneaky Flight. I'm going to get rid of the Shift Flight, I think. Although he can kill Wolvier Bashers. Am I more worried about control? Do I think anyone's playing blue-white? I haven't seen anything. I'm going to get rid of the faster card. It's funny because it's both faster as a 3-drop, and then it also has more late game presence. A tough pick. Boomerang's totally fine. Pyro Knight, I've already got 1. I can't imagine playing 2. The Smashadon. 5/5 Crush. Dinosaur. There's not very much I can do to buff him, and it's just a 5/5. I'm not sure that he's necessarily a game winner for me. Whereas Predatory Prey, decent removal. That's really tough. Ended up with a Smashadon. Probably not going to main deck it. of these. Do I want to really commit to the first blood? I'm not going to see another Wolvear Basher. And that was kind of what I was hoping I would get. I don't think I would play a fourth one. So here, the Deep Gaze Acolyte, throw back. I just hate draft the frickin' Acolyte. There's a couple of enabling cards that I would have really liked to have seen that I didn't get. Oh, that's a fun late in the game pick. He's an elf as well, so he works with the Blade Master. So that allows me to get rid of the Scrapyard Dynamo in exchange for a stronger 1-drop. I feel like this is an okay deck. It's at least fast. Yeah, it's fast. There's something to be said for that. There's nothing in here, so what's going to be most problematic? A sudden awakening. Man, I made such a huge play mistake last game, and I got really owned by a sudden awakening. I'm going to be kicking myself about that one for a while. Here, I'm not sure what I want to start taking out. This is going to be a slightly tricky deck building. I'm going to try to deck build pretty quickly because I want to sneak out and get some sushi before everyone else finishes building their decks. The sushi place around the corner from my house, before they close, all the sushi's half price. Because I guess raw fish isn't the sort of thing you want to leave kicking around until the following day. But that means now is sushi time. And if I can build this deck in like 4 minutes, then that will be more entertaining for you guys, and I can get my half-price sushi. What do I want to do here? I'm really torn about which hero to take. I don't think I'm going to take any of the green heroes now. So it's either Cressida or it's going to be Ergnok. I mean, I don't really have any shard fixing. Well, I mean, I say that, but I have 2 Ashwood Soloists. And my most expensive card is a 5-drop. And I've got 1, 2 first strikers, plus I got the guy who can be difficult, plus I've got the lunge. So I'm actually going to break protocol here. Because I know if you're green-red, you always have to play Cressida. But I'm going to take Ergnok. And if I'm taking Ergnok, that means I don't want this many 5-drops. So I'm going to remove one of the volley of arrows, and I'm going to remove, what else? Maybe a Niblin, because I like the Storm Drummer for a little bit of removal, although, that being said, I don't have that much stuff with toughness, right? I mean, I've got a few things, but like, It's quite possible that this Storm Drummer, even though sometimes he's a total bomb, it's quite possible that he'll drop as just a dead card, because if he triggers onto the Bashers, that's worthless. If he triggers onto any of my cool 2/1s, I'm not going to want to activate him. So I'm actually going to drop the Drummer. He's just not very predictable for me. So now I've got 4 1-drops, that seems fine. I'm playing a slightly later curve deck than I'd like, but I've got the First Bloods, which should help the Basher go off. So let me check my resources here. I'm mostly Ruby. Wow, 75% Ruby. So I'll do an extra Ruby shard. 13. I could actually do 2 extra Ruby shards. Am I that curved off toward Ruby?
Kind of am. Now, this is the point where I ask myself if it makes sense to go solo ruby, right? Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've only got 4, and the relic. Is there any good red? Not really. So I could go solo red and do the sword play and the volley of arrows. I would have to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would have to take 5 cards out. I don't really have 5 cards to substitute in from red. I've got 1, 2. I'm not going to play 3 sword plays, even though that would be slightly amusing. This is pretty annoying. Green just hasn't delivered for me here. Well. Hopefully. I mean, that being said, that's slightly unfair because, like, Storm Drummer is obviously really strong. I wonder if it's possible for Storm Drummer to trigger, like, if battle can trigger, and then you can drop something like Lunge, or if you could drop, like, a Smash to the ground in response to the battle triggering to buff it. I'm going to have to pay attention to that next time it comes up. That actually kind of makes me want to play the Storm Drummer, just so that I can see how that mechanic works. I might play the Storm Drummer and get rid of one of these shards, because I think my shard base is actually okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Cool. So that's saved. I'm going to go get my sushi, and we'll be back when this is rolling.